Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show. I'm so excited. I have my buddy, Dale Hersh, here. He's a single, actually, we haven't seen each other in years. I don't even know if you're single or not, but
Yeah,
you're single.
I'm single. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
He's a single guy.
Yep.
He works in luxury real estate and he's a comedian. He's super funny. So I thought I would bring you on the show and we could just talk. I'm not prepared at all. So we're just going to have a conversation and
Same.
catch up.
Same. Sounds great. Let's
Cool.
do it.
Good.
There's no pressure to be funny now that everyone knows that I'm a
None.
comedian. No, no.
So I haven't seen you in a long years, I think.
It's been a while. And it's so strange how like social media makes you feel like you are in somene's life when you're not. Like we haven't
It's
talked in years and yet I'm like I know everything that's going
I
on. I'm
think
like,
because
did
I
you get
post
that? Did you
because
get
I
that
post
upstairs
everything.
office? Yeah, exactly.
Well, you look good.
Thanks.
Your hairline is like solid
Thank
because
you.
most of my guy friends around your age, it starts to change. Where there's nothing wrong with it, but I'm very impressed
Thank you very
with how your
much.
hair looks.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I had nothing to do with it, but I've kind of stopped complaining about having gray hair because at this point, once you hit like, 80, it doesn't matter what color it is or what style it is. You know what I mean? So thank you for the compliment. And your hair looks just as glorious as it's ever looked.
Oh,
You
thank
look
you.
great.
Thank
You
you.
look amazing. I'm not just saying it. Yeah. Beautiful ring.
Thank
If I
you.
didn't know
Pete
you
did
were,
good.
yeah, if I didn't know that you were married to Pete, I would have thought maybe you married someone on the Clippers because that's a
I
beautiful
I
ring.
picked it.
Oh, you did? Nice.
He was good. He's just like, I want you to like it, so why don't you
It's a
choose?
smart move. It's a
Okay.
smart move by Pete. No need to be a hero there, right?
All right, cool. So let's talk about dating and stuff because I've
Yeah,
known you for a long time. It's probably like over 10 years.
yeah, at least. Yeah,
And I mean, we dated for a hot sec. I think
yeah,
I was in my mid-20s, right? And it's so
yeah,
funny
yeah.
for me to say cuz we're like such a different person back then. I'm
Completely
almost like,
different.
"Oh my God, that's right."
Yeah,
And it almost feels like childhood friend. Like that feels
yeah,
like the dynamic like,
yeah,
"Oh." But I think it's so funny looking back on that
yeah.
because I think I threw them away, but there was, like, some pictures I remember I came across, and I was like, "Oh my god, this looks so wrong to me." We're,
Really?
like, kissing,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
right? And I'm just
yeah.
like, "This feels so wrong because our dynamic is so
Right,
friendship."
right, right, right. That's kind of funny, and it's cool. It's like we've been through a lot, Like we've known each other a long time. I love that we're still buds, but yeah, I'm still not sure that you're not going to roast me on this just
I
episode today. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I do. I like, when I'm able to have a good relationship
Yeah,
afterwards.
me
I mean,
too.
it was really fast too. We dated for, like what was it, like, a month? It was
Yeah,
not long,
yeah, and it
so
wasn't your fault. I'm handsome, funny, charming. You're only human. It was probably bound to happen, right? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Someone laughed at that.
All right, Dale Hirsch, where are you from?
Originally Wayne, New Jersey.
Jersey.
I'm just gonna have some sparklets
Okay.
right now.
Not sponsored by
Uh,
Sparklets.
wow, that's good water from New Jersey. But I've been out here 20 years,
Okay. So
which
you're
is
like a
crazy.
Southern California person.
I love it out here. I mean, if we talk long enough, you might hear one or two words that come out like, "Oh, this guy's got an accent." But
Yeah.
for the most part, I feel like I'm from LA now. You know.
All
And you're
right.
from Northern California?
Yeah. Pete's
Yeah.
from Jersey.
Is he really?
Yeah. Ramsey.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
That's
Jersey.
North
You guys.
Jersey.
Yeah.
Did we talk about that?
I don't
Ramsey?
think
No,
so.
we didn't.
But you guys have a lot of things in common. Like you both love soccer.
Yep. Yep.
And did you meet him before?
We
At a
met
party.
we
The
met
party. The
once.
first.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, at
When I
your
used
your
to throw bigger
condo on
parties.
Sawtell. You still have that condo?
I do. We rented out.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool. Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah. I love Pete.
He's a good
Yeah, I
guy.
can tell he
Yeah,
he really
he's
is.
such a
Yeah.
good guy. Okay, let's talk dating.
Let's talk dating because I'm 45 and I'm single, so I feel like I'm the foremost authority on dating advice.
Are you single by choice? Do you want to be in a relationship?
For me, I've just never felt like a relationship is something to chase and to seek, that it's something that kind of finds me, and I like to allow things to just kind of happen naturally and organically, or not happen naturally and organically. But I should say, um, after years of starting to recognize like a pattern in relationships, it's only recently, really in the last like month or two, that I've kind of uh, gone through kind of a big transformation. I've been doing a lot of inner work and learning a lot about myself and realizing really that, how we feel about ourselves, how we perceive ourselves is everything. It shapes the types of people, relationships, situations, circumstances that we attract in, and then how we experience those relationships and circumstances too. So, in the past, I was always the guy that like loved feedback, wanted to improve, and I've come to realize that the subtext of that is a self-limiting story that I'm not enough. So if you need to improve, if you boil that down, you're basically saying I'm not enough. And so, all these relationships, I wasn't enough. And if I found myself without consciously realizing it, if it would let me get close to being enough, but then there'd be like some self-sabotage or something that would, have me go back to not being enough, which was a match for my belief about myself, which at the time was unconscious. I've since realized that, and it's just been like, that emoji with the head exploding because it's like a huge realization. I've been on this like path of like, you know, conscious evolution and, the law of attraction and Eckhart Tolle and everything. And it's only recently that I've realized this one piece. Because once you start to recognize there's a pattern, it doesn't change the pattern, you know?
Yeah, that's yeah.
And if the experience causes you to have to further have a negative perception or like beating yourself up, it's just a vicious cycle. You know what I mean? Because then obviously it leads to the next situation that is a match for not being enough. And that's just one like vulnerable example. But anyway, I'm single. You asked me a question a long time ago. Filibuster is still legal. We talked about that before the show, so it's cool. Yeah, so I just feel like yes, I'm single, but I feel like I've just been reborn. Like I'm connected with my beingness and knowing that I'm worthy and I'm enough and I'm limitless as we all are, you know? So I feel like whatever I'm calling in now is going to be a match for that. So I'm excited about the next opportunity to experience a romantic relationship.
So it sounds like you're open,
Hmm.
but not seeking. Well, sometimes because when you're doing introspection, there's not much space for someone else coming in, or sometimes
You're
you
right.
might even like distance yourself from friends and family because it's that I know that time, and
Hmm.
sometimes it could feel like that. So do you feel
Hmm.
open?
I do right now.
Okay.
I haven't. But you're right. I mean, it's an inside job. It's a time of solitude, working on oneself and wanting to go inward and figure stuff out. And not on the level of the mind, but really kind of go in to your heart space and learn about yourself and try to use whatever experience preceded this time that may have like kind of dropped you on your face as like I'm going to honor this so that it's not for nothing and I'm going to figure stuff out. I'm going to grow from this experience. So you're right. It's just one-on-one time, which is beautiful,
Yeah.
But I do feel like I'm just now kind of coming out of it and I am definitely open, you know. But the one question you always get on like dating apps is like, what are you looking for? And for me, I respect that everyone's on their own journey, but my honest answer to that question, I find isn't always received positively, which is totally fine with me because I think dating apps are actually the perfect vehicle for um, the law of attraction. Anyone who's a match is gonna.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to take effort. They'll find you. You'll find them. And anyone who's not a match will fall away or won't like the answer to that question.
So what is your answer to that
It's
question
just
currently?
that I'm not looking for anything
Okay.
other than an authentic connection. That's
Okay.
it. And beyond that, I I want to allow things to happen or not happen organically,
Okay.
you know, as opposed to I want this, I want a relationship, I want marriage, I want kids. If that's what they want, great. But for me, chasing the result doesn't feel natural. So I think those are things that come as a natural byproduct of meeting someone that you have a great connection with and develop a great friendship with. And then if you add a love affair to that, now you have what I feel are like the attributes of like a great healthy relationship. So
Can we talk more about your previous relationships and the
Sure.
patterns? So, what kind of women, like, was there something in common with like the type that you would choose? Is there any common thread there?
Well, do you have tissues? It's starting to feel like therapy.
Do you need tissue?
No, not yet. But anyway,
We can. There's a
I'm
bathroom
I'm
around the
just kidding.
corner.
I'm just kidding. There was not anything that I was consciously choosing, but the girls who were a vibrational match for where I was vibrating, and specifically how I was feeling about myself or perceiving myself. Now, if you would have asked me, how do you feel about yourself? I feel great. I'm like grateful. I'm just optimistic, positive person. But that limiting belief perception that I kind of mentioned earlier, which you could trace that back to childhood, like getting cut from a team, or the coach telling you you're not good enough, or dad not saying great job, you know? So um, that perception, I realize now, any girl that I was calling in was a match for that. And so,
Were there any certain traits that they would have though
yeah, yeah,
that were kind of common?
yeah. Um, it's funny, your guest Mark that was on the
Oh
show
yeah,
recently, he had said something about, you
it's.
know,
Oh, I'm sorry, Mark Groves. If
it,
anyone else follows him, he has great content.
yeah, he had said something like, if a guy says to a girl, if it's a heterosexual relationship, you know, I'm not looking for anything serious, that's like, great open communication or
Oh yeah.
something. Did
Oh,
he
I'm
say that?
sorry. You're talking about Mark Howerton, the therapist. Yes. Yes.
Different
Yes.
Mark.
Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess in a way, I agree, but that kind of like triggered me because it made me realize, oh, I used to do that, you know? And so, yes, it's being honest, but it also, for me, was a part of a pattern that was, avoiding um, commitment straight away to create like a safe space to not have to be intimate, which ultimately I found out was, me not being comfortable being intimate with myself, because we're all just a reflection. We're all just a mirror, So running away from intimacy is really just running away from yourself, So I, that was part of my pattern. And so, and by the way, two people are both a match for any situation that they find themselves in, you know? But part of the pattern that I can look back and recognize is, often the girl would perhaps want more than that,
Yeah.
but go along with it,
Hmm.
and in some way kind of forsake their own boundaries, or what they really want, kind of put aside what they really want for the sake of what I wanted. And then, there's a shelf life there. So invariably and inevitably, you get to a point where it's not okay anymore, where they want to feel like it's going to progress or go somewhere. And then that usually leads to breakup number one. And I designate it as number one because, you know, usually a few months later, it's like, miss this person, and then just want to try to get them back. And usually you can do that. There's, of course, a finite number of times you can do that
Hmm.
before someone's going to be like, yeah, no, this isn't working. But that's the oscillating nature of the underlying self-limiting belief story of, I'm not enough. That's what that is. It's like, it's never going to be right. It's going to get close, and then it's going to not be there. And then it sounds so cliche, but you know, the desire to want to like stay safe and keep a woman at an arm's length at that time in the past was so strong that, you kind of had to like, it's easy to like, as a man, I can remember myself feeling like, oh, I'm being honest, and that's a sign of respect and love, and it's the right thing. But the thing that Mark didn't mention, which is true for me, was that it was also part of an unhealthy pattern creating that space. So it's honest, but it's also, you know avoiding intimacy.
And what about intimacy scares you or did scare you?
I appreciate you making that distinction, going to the past tense, because it's not present, So that's Sparklets is delicious. It really is good water. And you wouldn't think so, but it's really nice. So if the presence of intimacy makes me uncomfortable, it has nothing to do with the other person. It's me and my relationship with myself. And if you ask why, uh, I don't know, but I've gotten to know myself better in the last couple months than I ever have in probably 15 years of doing this work. I call it work, but consciously evolving spiritually. Learning, trying to learn about myself and grow.
Do you think that you're scared of pain or getting hurt?
That's a great question. And I think a lot of times avoiding commitment can be linked in general to fear of rejection or in some way. Any fear is just, you know, old stories, old patterns. The ego loves what's familiar, and if that's been the pattern, that's where the ego, if left unchecked, is gonna go back to survive. And so, what was I afraid of? I don't know. These patterns kind of run themselves if if we're not if we don't shine the light of our awareness on them and see them for what they are. So it's a pretty interesting experience when you start to become aware of it, but yet you're still kind of going through the motions and still carrying out the pattern.
Yes.
That's really strange. Nothing really changes until we commit to having the discipline to like doing the work every day. And what is the work? Going inward and just self-love practice, gratitude practice, and connecting with our beingness, our limitlessness, our worthiness, we are pure love. And so we connect with that, everything else fades away. My attention is here now and on like creating new. So it's easy for me to imagine my next relationship not having any fear of intimacy or not having any sort of knee-jerk reaction to wanting to immediately create a safe space to avoid pressure of commitment. In the past, it was just what I did. Of course, not with bad intentions, but right now, it feels like that. When you can become aware of something, you create a space between yourself and that
Step
thing.
one.
Yeah. You know what I love about leaf blowers?
What? Yeah, I don't know if you guys can hear. There's a leaf blower going off outside.
No, leaf blowers are amazing because they really accomplish nothing.
They don't.
They accomplish nothing.
Well, they
I'm gonna
put it
blow.
into a pile so they could rake it up easier, so they don't have to go all
They
around.
just blowing shit everywhere, and it's just so loud, and but like it's not like they're just blowing it like I'm blowing everything off this lawn onto the
I
next
assume
one.
they blow it into a pile and then pick up the pile.
No,
If they don't pick it up, then that's
no.
stupid.
There's no way. It's not like a precise. How do you hold a leaf blower? It's not precise. It's not like they're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna sweep these over here. They're just like blowing everything everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
I need to take us back to this conversation. Well, I do appreciate your self-awareness
Thank you.
And your honesty that you're absolutely right. That awareness is step one, but awareness does not mean patterns change.
Right.
Because they're, even for myself, like I started to become aware of my patterns a long time ago, but I would still choose the same kind of person. My nervous system just somehow really liked that emotionally unavailable person.
Mm-hmm.
And in the personal growth space as well, I think it's you see people who will go a lot, but not implement it into day-to-day life, right? So
Yeah.
you hear and you know all this stuff, but then the change
Mm.
comes when you actually start making different decisions, saying no to certain things, taking a pause, like, wait a minute, is this, this or this? And sometimes that takes a while too. I think for everyone it's different. I knew when I was done, like choosing emotionally unavailable people. I
Yeah.
got so frustrated,
Yeah.
and I was very aware that it was my own choice and I was the one putting myself in the situation. So I said, I'm done. And from then on, I chose differently. So if anyone showed signs of not being emotionally available, that was an automatic no for me. I was like, okay,
Mm.
I'm not really there. I'm not there anymore. I'm heading this direction.
Yeah.
And that I met Pete shortly after. I just started to date completely different.
You had to have made some interchange to your consciousness and your vibrational frequency, because
Um,
otherwise you can say you want this, but
oh yeah, definitely
how
like
you feel about
self-love,
yourself is what you're gonna
confidence.
call in.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
right. So
Self-love and confidence was a big were things that I had to work on
yeah,
for sure.
and not to improve on, but things you chose to bring your attention to cultivate within yourself. Right.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
want to show up feeling good and confident on
Mm-hmm.
dates. Like this should be fun. This
Right.
shouldn't be like if it's not fun, why do I want to do it? So that was my goal. Like I want to feel good. And what did that look like to me? It looked like a confident, self-expressed version of me that
Mm.
had clarity. Like this is me, and it's okay if we're not on the same page, but
Right.
this is me, and feeling good about it. So that was my goal.
That's great. I think a lot of people who might be in that situation where they become aware of a pattern and don't know how to change it. They just don't know what to do. Maybe.
That's true. I get those comments a lot like, but how did you change that? What are the
Right.
specific things that you did? And I think the tricky part is it's different for everybody because some people like, love therapy or, there's, I did a program called Landmark Education, which some people like really love it. Other people don't. I tell people it's not for everyone. It's a very masculine approach to self-improvement, which I respond well to because I like when people are direct. So I hear it in a way that works for me. But I understand not everyone's built like that. So when people ask, I might share like, what did you do? I'll share what I did, but I'm not like this works. I just said this is what worked for me because
Mm.
and it helped my communication,
Mm-hmm.
helped my relationship with my parents. I realized, that my mom, the way I was showing with my mom, like she didn't feel like I asked her, I'm like, Mom, do you, do you know that I love you? And a coach helped me out with this. And she said, no. That opened up a conversation that I had with her that really changed our dynamic completely. So my point is, different things work for different people. And I think it's good just to try different things too.
Yeah.
And in California and LA, there's a lot of different things you can do here.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big spiritual community,
Yeah.
like some people go into that for healing.
One thing that I feel could be great for everyone would be a practice of self-love, a practice of gratitude,
Yes.
because whatever you're focusing on is what you're gonna call more in of. So as soon as you get out of this country, we used to go down to. Did you ever go down to Mexico to the
Hmm.
orphanages? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
As soon as you like experience something outside of this like bubble, you realize, wow, like we have so much to be grateful for, and even the smallest things, right? So, not to diminish or minimize like the trials and tribulations people have in their day of like, oh, someone didn't show up for a meeting, whatever. But like, there's so much to be grateful for, and it's a choice.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned feeling good. Sounds simple, but that's it right there. Like that's how you know where you're vibrating. Do I feel light? Do I feel good right now? Great. Do I feel like the best version of myself? Great. A nice thing about self-love is once you start feeling good about yourself, you just naturally start not really caring as much what people think when you know you're being authentic. And it's easier to create boundaries. Would you find that to be true?
Yeah, you're more confident in your boundaries too. It's one
Yeah.
thing to say them, but just to feel good about them, like yeah,
Yeah.
and it's not personal. Like it works for you or it doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a good place
It,
to be.
I agree. I agree 100%. if we could get out of like a victim mentality of like, why is this happening to me? I think a lot of times, particularly with like dating, if it's not, when you have expectations, you kind of open yourself up to being let down. I mean, me, I enjoy like a bad first date just as much as a great one.
Do you
Yeah,
really?
yeah,
Like
almost as much.
what's the definition of a bad first date to you?
Well, on a deeper level, I suppose nothing is good or bad. Everything just is as it
Okay.
is. It's just an
Okay.
experience,
But
right?
your version of
How about
a bad
one
date.
that is like whether someone doesn't really look like their pictures too much, or not that
Okay.
I go on a lot of these, but or maybe just one that you kind of intuitively just recognize early on, like, yeah, this not I'm not a match with this person. There's not gonna be a second date here.
What is like the worst date you've been on where you were just like, have you had an experience where you just like wanted to get out of there?
Uh, yeah, but you know, my feeling is like this is another human. This is a person, and I'm gonna make the best of it. And you can still have a fun time, even if there's not like a romantic physical connection or attraction. You know,
Okay.
there.
But what if there's no like good banter? Like
Yeah, then you gotta, you know, I'm not gonna like lie and be like, oh my God, my friend just got in a freak bass fishing accident. I've got to go pick him up at the lake. I'm so sorry. Like, I'm not going to do that. But you just cut it short, you know, like, hey, this was great. Like, wrap
uh
it up.
do you talk to them on the phone before meeting in person?
I don't have a rule book. If someone wants to have a chat or a FaceTime, great. If not, I don't like initiate asking a girl to meet up in person straight away. For me, I don't know. It's funny because some girls on there are like not looking for a pen pal, and others are like, you know, if you say, "Hey, you want to get together," it could come across as like having, you know, different intentions, not pure intentions, maybe. I just feel like there has to be like a little interaction and a little rapport established before I feel like it feels natural to be like, "Hey, would you want to maybe get together, go for a hike, go get a drink or something?" Um, so what was your question?
So text, like
Oh,
text rapport.
yeah.
Yeah.
Usually it's just messaging in an app, and then like graduating to text, and then if there's interaction and banter, and it feels like natural, then yeah, I'll say, hey, you want to get together. My first time ever meeting a girl from a dating app was an experience. I gotta be honest. It's always this feeling of like, do I really want to do this? But I gotta like get out of my comfort zone and make the effort, and like I'm just gonna do it. I drove to Santa Monica, and this was my first experience. And by the way, I'm gonna say this with love, okay? So it's not like I'm not shallow Hal at all. Um, but I realized, learned this lesson straight away, right out of the gate, that if a girl doesn't provide pictures of anything from like the shoulders down, maybe there's a reason for
Hmm.
that. It's not a judgment of how someone body of their body type or something.
Yeah.
It's like just
Accurate.
be
Yes.
authentic. You know,
It
like
should look like you.
yeah, what you're not like, you know, where how why am I gonna put a picture of George Clooney? Because you know George Clooney's not showing up. Denzel Washington's a young Denzel Washington showing up. So it's like, why am I gonna mislead? But anyway, you know, it's cool. But so it's the misdirection that I didn't care for.
Yeah, with dating apps, I made a video once of just yeah, the clarity in general. People are visual, so clear photo of your face and it should look like you. I think with women, some of them, I have some friends who use the filters too. I'm like, don't use the filters.
Yeah,
Don't like I mean, maybe some are like lightly used where it looks like, you know, you have makeup on or whatever, but it actually still looks like you. But I'm like, if it doesn't look like you, you're really wasting your time. I'm
yeah.
like, do you want the person to be disappointed when they show up? Wouldn't you rather it be accurate or they're they're like pleasantly surprised instead of this doll version of you?
Well, not everyone is feeling comfortable to share, you know, their real self, and maybe they feel more comfortable using a filter. Everyone's on their own journey, so I'm like happy if a girl is using a filter, that's fine. It might not be my cup of tea, not because I'm judging, but it's interesting how you really can get a sense of someone from what they write and from their pictures, you know, looking at a profile. I mean, I I can't believe I've heard girls say like, "Yeah, guys don't read profiles." And I'm like, "Oh, I read everything. because I feel like I'm getting a sense of your essence. By the way, I'm at a point now where I'm not looking to get laid. I'm not looking for, the smoke show. I'm looking for like a girl that seems like energetically has positive energy and feels like a sweet person who might have a sense of humor. Or I'm looking for that, I said earlier I'm not looking for anything, but you know what I mean. Like if there's one thing, it's just like an authentic connection, and it doesn't have to be romantic. I met a girl recently, and we had a nice chit chat on the app, and we actually met in person, and I didn't feel like a romantic connection with her, but she asked me how I would rate the date afterwards. And I
Interesting.
told her the truth. I said I had a really fun time. We had a lot of laughs, and I think that this could be the start of a really nice friendship. And she was like, "Great." So we still kind of text. I don't know if we're gonna what will be next, but I'm happy to make a friend too. That's my outlook. I don't know.
How did it feel when she asked you that question at the end of the date? How would you rate the
Oh,
date?
she didn't ask it at the end of the date. She
Oh,
asked it like on text.
oh,
Yeah.
after. Oh, I thought it was before, like you guys parted ways. I was like, oh, that's like
That would be a
pivotal.
lot. That would be a lot. Yeah.
Okay.
Interview questions like a post-interview questionnaire. That would have been a lot. But it's funny that the word interview comes up because I always laugh when I see a girl say something like, blah, 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 need not apply. It's like, I'm not applying for a job. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like that's,
oh, share more of like this is just your personal
yeah,
preference. What are some things you see when you're online dating with profiles that are generally turn-offs for you personally? I know everyone's different.
sure. Me, there's a positive way to say everything in a negative way. You could say all the things you don't like, or you could not say that. You could just pick the things you do like. And that to me is what stands out immediately. Like, is it someone going for the positive or the negative? So it's very revealing about where someone is. No judgment, just an observation. So if a girl's like, yeah, if you're this, and this, swipe left, it's like, it's not because of the things you said, it's because of the negative, like, because I like when girls are like, yeah, this is this and this, something positive. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like
absolutely.
different ways to say what you want to say. So
Absolutely.
that to me is like a little thing that I notice a lot. And yeah, it can be revealing. It can be revealing of how people feel about themselves and where they are. I'm attracted to authenticity. I think everybody is, but like
I
someone
mean,
who,
you would think, but some aren't.
I suppose you're right.
I mean, you see the couples where I'm personally not into like heavy plastic surgery
Oh,
where it looks almost like cartoonish, but there's
yeah.
some men who like that and they choose a
Mm,
partner like that.
mm.
I'm not gonna dive into psychologically like wondering why, but I'm like
Because,
there's all like
mm,
it's just that to me is not
yeah,
the most authentic,
it,
at
it's
least
it's not.
looking
Yeah,
wise.
it's not. And we can say that without judging but it doesn't come across as authentic. And yeah, I don't know who's attracted to that. I know some guys are,
But you
but
see them, right? Like you
yeah,
see them walking
yeah,
around.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. I don't know. That's not my thing. I'm all about
You like
natural,
natural. Yeah, you
natural,
like
real.
natural
Yeah,
beauty.
yeah, yeah. And it comes in different ways, but like natural, real, authentic is the thing that I like, that I've recognized that I like. So, is that my approach? I guess it is. But it's interesting too is that my experience of dating apps, I realize is completely different from like what the female perspective might be,
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. What do you think females think?
Uh, I don't know what they think, but I imagine there's a lot of creepy dudes out there, for like that are like trying to glom on to like pretty girls. Like, what are you doing tonight? That kind of thing. I often get little tidbits when I do meet with a girl from there, like what their experience is like, because it's interesting to learn. And look, there's creepy dudes out there. There's creepy girls out there, and so it doesn't matter, I guess. But my main thing is just that I look like my pictures.
Okay.
Uh,
That's what it comes
I
down
want to
to.
make sure that
Yeah.
I'm being received in a way that's authentic. Because you could think that you're, you know, you are, but someone else's experience, although anyone else's experience is going to be through the lens
Of
of
course.
their perception of themselves.
Of course.
So in some regards, it doesn't matter. And it's
No.
not for like feedback of improving. It's just for like, just the simplicity of like, you know, I I look like my pictures, right? And I mean, to me, that's like the most important thing. You know what I mean? I don't
Eh,
want to misrepresent myself. If I say young Morgan Freeman, I don't, I want to look like a young Morgan Freeman, like lean on me, like a young, handsome Morgan Freeman.
Do you ever ask opinions from your female friends? Maybe like what do you think of my profile? Trusted
Yeah,
friends?
I haven't done that. One time, my buddy was dating a girl who kind of impromptu was like, "Ooh, let me see your profile," and she started giving me her opinions and stuff. And again, that was just her through her from her perception of how, I don't know. I It's subjective, so I don't know. I think it's more important that I feel like it represents me and I feel good about it. Although there aren't too many pictures that I would not feel comfortable with as long as they were, looked like me. But I've not like gone and asked for feedback. If you want, we could do that.
We could do that.
I'd love to hear your opinion just for entertainment, just for
Oh
fun,
yeah,
you know?
I'm actually pretty confident that you do a good job with your profile, but I
Oh,
do think sometimes it's good to ask just because what you said, sometimes we see things differently. And, like for me, I don't want to assume that I know everything. So what I've started doing, actually more so in business, is asking, for example, the cover of my book, like there was two options and my gut actually said a different one. It didn't have my photo on it. I'm like, this is going to sell better. But I've learned market research. Actually, let me literally ask my target audience which one they would prefer.
oh wow.
90% said the blue cover with your photo on it. And I was surprised. I was like,
Oh,
"Oh, maybe I was wrong." And I mean, I wanted a certain result. I wanted to sell
sure,
my book, so I was
sure.
like, I'm going to listen to them.
Right,
But I've been wrong before. So I do like asking. And of course it should be a trusted person
right.
or um like in your case, like in the example of showing your friend, it should be someone who's probably known you for a while,
Yeah.
knows what you want. Trusted,
Mm-hmm.
trusted friend.
Yeah, yeah. But that's interesting that you had a gut like intuitive feeling about the picture,
Yeah.
and then you everybody else wanted the other, so you went with the other.
Yeah.
That's like an example of like you're trying to sell a book, like you were saying, right? And it worked, and probably both pictures were great. But like normally, I wouldn't ever recommend anyone go against their gut, you know.
Yeah, that
But anyway, that's different. If I was selling a book versus, like I said, as long as it looks like me, that's more important than like, oh my God, I look great in that picture. But if
yeah.
it doesn't look like, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I totally get it.
Like if there's not a lot of gray hair in it, it might not be the best picture.
It should be a recent photo.
Yeah, 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 totally.
I,
It's funny when they link their Instagram and then you're like, oh, your profile picture's from 2014. Cool. Nice.
yeah, it's
Actually, that's not even bad. Could be worse. Could be like the late 90s.
oh, some people do. I some of my girlfriends have gone out with guys where it's like a 20-year-old like difference in
Yeah.
the photo. I'm like, why?
That's something I've heard from girls that guys will often not look like their pictures. I probably a lot of the same stuff we kind of experience, guys and girls both experience. The difference is that, a guy's never gonna go out with a girl and not feel safe probably, whereas a girl kind of has to be mindful of that, I would think.
Yes,
You know what I mean?
the safety. Oh, for sure.
So
That's a huge one.
yeah, yeah. But I actually enjoy being a guy that any girl that ends up going out with me is gonna feel respected and be treated with respect, and feel heard and stuff. So I'm going for quality over quantity at this point. You know,
What are you attracted to? Not the spiritual analytical answer. Like
Yeah.
what do you typically like when you're flipping? Like what do you look like? Good
You
vibe, good energy.
yeah,
Like,
good vibe, good energy. Um, I generally, if there's a sign of a sense of humor, great. I tend to generally be physically attracted to like petite, you know, women and women of like like ethnically ambiguous. I'm tiptoeing because I don't know. Like, it's fine if I get canceled. I don't want you to get canceled. All right.
no, it's fine.
You're right. You could
Just
edit
who
me out.
it is.
That's true.
Everyone has preferences and
Yeah,
every.
well, look, if you want to know what you're attracted to, look at your track record. Look at the people that you've dated, and if you see that they, look similar or have it, then maybe that's, you know,
Okay. What about emotionally?
emotionally. And it's hard to see this in a profile, but
Right, right.
someone who's open to communicating, you know, open, honest communication, authenticity, sweet. I'm big on gratitude. I love if I see like some sort of feeling of gratitude of, or sometimes you have to learn this once you like start to get to know someone, you know.
Yeah. Oh, of
But
course.
I'll tell you what, if I take a girl out to dinner and she doesn't say thank you,
Mm.
or even if I like buy drinks and she doesn't say thank you, it doesn't sit well with me. It's usually like not going to be a second date.
Okay.
Because if there's either gratitude or if there's not, it comes across like it's expected.
Yeah.
And that just, I don't feel good about that. And yet sometimes, like I've met this girl that we haven't met in person yet. We've been chatting a lot and she's amazing. And she will express gratitude for like the smallest things, like a kind word that I said or something. And I love that. I don't know. I love gratitude. So, um, yeah, I think you don't really know some of these things. You got to find out as you get to know someone. But from the profile, yeah, petite, darker complexion.
Okay. Or in person too. Like what typically draws you to like want to go talk to someone?
If it's in person, a lot of it's energy.
That's the top answer I hear from
Mm,
guys.
yeah, and I'll compliment people. It doesn't even have to be like a pretty girl. Like I'll compliment someone. I'll be like, "You've got really beautiful, positive energy," you know. Um, and what's great about Rusty, my little pup son, is he's a little pure love mirror, and he is like a magnet for the nice. He brings in the nicest people, like positive energy. If he goes to someone, they have like beautiful positive energy, and I'll tell them that. I'm like, this is probably the greatest endorsement of your positive energy, the fact that he wants to be near you right now. So, but anyway, as it relates to girls, yeah, you get a feeling, energy, nice smile, approachable. Um, there's no pickup lines. It's just, you know, go say hi for me, you know? So, yeah, what do I look for? I don't know. I really don't know, but I know it when I find it, as does everyone, right?
That's
What do you
true.
look for?
When you know, you know. Before I met Pete, I wanted someone who wanted to be in a committed relationship.
Was
Uh,
that like a precursor, like straight away?
yeah, I had gotten to the point where because I had dated some guys where I waited around, and I had gotten to a point where I was very clear on what I wanted. And so that it was like, I want someone who's ready to be in a relationship.
Right then and there?
Like, ready, maybe not with me, but he wants a
Oh, okay.
relationship.
Okay.
He wants a relationship. Um, and I feel safe with
Hmm.
them. That's very important. And then after we get to know each other, also want to be in a relationship with me, like specifically, because sometimes we would date, but they'd want to like date other people. I'm like, no, I actually want someone who would want once they like someone, me,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
once
yeah.
they like me, they would want to be exclusive with me.
You would kind of sort that out ahead of time.
I would, because if someone
Hmm.
wasn't sure, maybe when I was in my 20s and it was a little more like go with the flow, I would have been okay. Like, okay, he's still figuring stuff out because I'm still figuring stuff out. But for me, I was like happy where I was in my career. And I knew I'm like, this is the next thing. I want to create a really something to go towards that direction, not to force it, like
Yeah.
forced marriage or whatever, but I want to go towards this direction. And if it's someone who's like too flowy, I'm actually not there anymore. And it
Yeah.
is possible to lose out on. I probably could have had a great connection with someone who just wasn't sure at that moment, but
They
uh,
weren't a match for where you were.
right, and it's timing too. But I just, I was just like, I respect that, but I'm looking for someone who,
Mm.
would like to explore this and go in this direction. Of course, it's always disappointing if you're not on the same page. But
Yeah.
what can you do? All you can do is put yourself out
I think that's
there.
beautiful. And that's like the other side of the previous version of you that you talked about, which may have just gone along with someone who was wishy-washy and non-committal, even if that is what you wanted,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And so now this was like a manifestation of where you were at this different place now, where you knew what you wanted and felt deserving of it.
yeah.
And my first reaction when I was like right off the top, right straight away, you would say like that was I just realized an old version of me that would get panicky at that stuff. But the truth is, you know, I wouldn't run from that. I would respect that. And if it's someone that I feel like a connection with, that would be great. Like that wouldn't scare me away right now. You know what I mean? So I commend you on that. And look, you ended up with an amazing guy. And of course, all the guys that maybe fell away or it didn't work out with, that was all like, thank God, right? All blessings
Yes.
because they all had to happen to lead you to Pete,
Oh, absolutely.
you know?
I'm grateful for all of them.
Yeah.
And the last part is also healed. I wanted someone because I had healed. Well,
Mm,
I think we're healing forever, but most of my stuff, like I didn't want someone that had ex baggage that still wasn't over an ex. Like
right.
I wanted that resolved just because I had worked on it
Yeah,
myself. So I was like, I just want someone
of
who's
course.
there. I don't want to carry someone's
Right.
ex stuff or
Yeah.
the stuff that they haven't looked at.
That's great. And you if you do the work for yourself, then you don't have to even worry about that because people you attract in, like Pete,
Typically.
typically are going to be a match for that where they've done their work. But yeah, so the people who haven't done their work, you're no longer going to be a match for them. So
Yeah, they would get freaked out or just it
yeah,
doesn't
it would
resonate.
fall away.
It
It
doesn't
wouldn't
resonate.
resonate. But that's like the greatest gift anyone can give themselves is to like do that work. And it's when people are seeking it from outside themselves, it's never going to work. When people need something outside of themselves, it's never going to work. It's like you got to be good with yourself,
For
you know?
long term, it's
It's
definitely
like I'll
better that
work
way.
on myself for you and you work on yourself
Yeah,
for me kind of thing, you know?
yeah, that works lovely for Pete and I. Like
That's great.
that's how we approach it, and it's worked really well for
I
us.
love it. I love your guys' relationship and I want to play soccer with Pete.
We'll make it happen.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
If people want to look you up or send you a message or something, where can they find you?
Instagram's probably best.
Okay.
Dale Hersh.
Okay.
I don't know if you're going to put up a graphic or something.
I,
DALEHERSH.
I'll put it in the
Oh,
comments.
cool. Yeah. And I'd love to hear from anybody. Reach out if you like. And if anyone has any questions about real estate or knows someone who does, I'm always happy to help them too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.